Hello folks, we are just a week and a half away from Wuchang's launch, and I think it's about time we address what I think could be Wuchang's biggest problem and ultimate downfall, and that would be its overall performance and polish. To those unaware, the development studio Leenzee are the ones behind Wuchang, and they have one official release prior to Wuchang, which would be AD 2047, a VR game released in 2021, which overall does not appear to be a bad game by any means. However, to dive into AD 2047 specifics, we have a total of 80 Steam reviews and 61% of them are positive. They mostly praise the game for gameplay, story, visual, and music, and for the most part, we can see that most players think it was quite well executed, but even within these positive reviews, we have plenty of remarks regarding performance and bugs, which is almost exclusively what all of these negative reviews remark upon also. To dive just a little bit deeper, we have plenty of feedback regarding controls being unintuitive or not working altogether, as well as issues with visuals, whether they be quality of graphics or frame rate issues with stuttering. They do seem to be all mostly related to poor optimization or coding. We do also have comments regarding how it feels like an old VR game despite the date it was released, and ultimately we can assume that AD 2047 was a somewhat poorly optimized game. So, with that established, and knowing that we have no other games within Leenzzee's track record to look at, it would be wise for us all to err on the side of caution with Wuchang, at least until more details are known. Which brings us straight to my next point in this video, and that would be that details on Wuchang are very scarce. We practically have no footage of the game being played on console whatsoever, and as we draw closer to launch without any sign of a demo or console footage, it does begin to beg the question, are certain things being hidden due to current internal issues with the game? Now, to strengthen this point even further, there has been some discussion within the Wuchang Discord and Reddit regarding stutters that can be seen within some gameplay that's been revealed for the game. However, it's more or less just general discussions I've seen taking place here and there, and I don't have an actual forum post regarding specifically that topic. Also, it should be said that despite the ungodly amount of hours I've personally spent combing through footage, nothing has ever stood out to myself, albeit I was never really looking for it. So, the game may or may not currently stutter, I can't confirm this or not, and the accusation itself may very well be unfounded, so make of this what you will. Where we do actually have some genuine issues is regarding the lack of information for both console and PC performance. Coincidentally enough, during the very first thoughts of this video, this post was made to the Wuchang Reddit, where we get a rough outline of the specs required for PC. As far as I know, these are not 100%, but the actual specs shouldn't be too far off. To add to this, we have a side-by-side comparison with Black Myth Wukong, where we can see the specs are quite a bit higher, but as I said before, these are subject to change to at least some extent. Now, of course, the PC specs can indicate how console performance is going to go, but it is no sure bet, and we still basically know nothing about console performance. Typically, games have most of their issues on PC. I have covered Kazan and a handful of other games quite in depth over the past few months, and I have seen a common trend of PC being the most affected, and then PS5 and PS5 Pro, followed closely by the Xbox Series S and X. This doesn't make me feel any better about Wuchang's launch to any extent, however, until we have further details or eventually see the review embargo lift, we simply do not know if there are any issues, and if so, just how deep they run. I find myself in a unique position where I will purchase the pre-order very last minute, purely due to creating videos on the game and wanting access to every last bit of content. However, for the average gamer, I would completely appreciate not pre-ordering Wuchang until at least the review embargo has been lifted. Now, I should make it very clear, this video isn't to fearmonger or spark negative discussion surrounding Wuchang. As it stands, I'm still very excited, and other than what I've presented within this video, we do have no other reason to suspect there are any issues. I just feel it should be made very clear to everyone that we do not currently have all of the details we typically would with most games, and in the past, this has revealed performance issues and bugs for many different titles. However, another factor to consider here would be that AD 2047 was developed and published by Leenzee. However, 505 Games are of course the publishers behind Wuchang, suggesting that the overall budget and access to support would have been substantially greater, which is of course very good news and explains how Leenzee were able to make a game of this scope, having only previously made a much smaller VR title up to this point. 505 are also known for publishing games that do try to innovate, and a decent portion of the best games I've played over the years have all been published by 505 Games. So on those merits alone, I do place some level of trust into Wuchang's overall execution. albeit that is mostly regarding its actual gameplay and content. Whether it has performance issues and bugs or not, I've no doubt that the actual game itself will be very enjoyable, and based on all of the feedback and commentary that I've ploughed through over the past few weeks, I've absolutely no doubt that just about any fan of Souls-like games are absolutely going to enjoy this experience. Now, on a much less worrisome note, we do have a recent increase of footage available for Wuchang. I'll link a bunch of these videos and some of the older ones in the description below. One of these videos features footage from Chapter 3, whilst most of the others only feature Chapter 1. I also have a few videos for both Xbox and PlayStation, and as I previously mentioned before, despite the footage in these videos looking quite clean, Wuchang is a very big game, and 20 or so minutes of Chapter 1 gameplay is not enough to prove we won't be seeing any issues. However, with more and more details coming in by the day, and with the review embargo likely to lift around the 21st of the month, being 6 or so days from now, then anyone still on the fence does absolutely have plenty of time to decide if they still want to pre-order for the additional armor and weapons or not. It has largely slipped my mind up till this point, but I should also mention that Wuchang is very much available day one on Game Pass, but this does not include the pre-order or deluxe bonuses, so do bear that in mind. However, the standard edition will be available for any Game Pass subscribers. Overall, Wuchang's difficulty is said to be quite challenging but fair. It's not adjustable, and I'm unaware as to whether New Game Plus currently exists. Weapons come in 5 different types, being axe, dual swords, one-handed swords, spears, and long swords, whilst armor comes in 4 different pieces to complete an entire set. Set bonuses don't appear to be a thing, and armor mostly just dictates mitigations and resistances. The full game is said to be over 60 plus hours long, and this is including 100% of content. The first chapter is roughly 3 hours of story, but 10 hours of content in total, and as far as I know, there are 6 chapters altogether, all having roughly the same scale of content, other than chapter 4, that is apparently shorter than the rest. Side quests, merchants, secret bosses, and the like are all mechanics within the game, and the level design is said to be heavily inspired by Dark Souls 1, which is considered the gold standard of Souls-like level design. Chapter 1 interconnects within itself and connects into Chapter 2 also. However, we've no idea as to how deep this goes throughout the entire game. And finally, combat heavily focuses around dodging, given that perfect dodges replenish mana. However, blocking, parrying, etc. can all be done depending on the weapon you're currently using. And in terms of combat options, you will have roughly 6 different attacks, skills, and abilities to use at any given time, whilst also having 4 available spell slots and an additional weapon you can switch between. So I've highly summarized the entire game there, but as you can see, it does absolutely appear to bring everything to the table that would be required for this game to make a huge dent in the genre. We can hope that due to Wuchang's Chinese origins, if she does indeed stick the landing and manage to deliver when she releases, then hopefully she replicates what Black Myth Wukong was able to do with its launch, based on how popular it was around the world, and also having that very strong Chinese core audience. But as always with most things that I say, folks, we will just have to wait and see. Anyway, that is just about it for today's video, folks. I'll be back over the coming days with more Wuchang. And of course, we are only 9 days away from launch now, so it won't be long before we start working on guides and more in-depth news videos. I do, of course, already have a range of guides and news videos on the channel, so do feel free to stop on by and check things out. Otherwise, thanks for watching, folks, and until next time, peace.